Thank you for staying with us on Daybreak. With me on set, we have Jane Kagiri, who is a woman representative like Laikipia. We have Nelson Harvey, former LSK president, and we also have Fred Okango, who is a political analyst. I will start with the dailies. So let's take a look at the Daily Nation. So, as I mentioned earlier, the big headline there is MPs bid to block job cuts in civil service. Public servants at the national and county level whose positions are abolished will be shielded from losing their jobs under a proposed law if the Public Service Human Resource Management Bill 2024, currently before the National Assembly, becomes law in its current form. Employees whose positions become redundant will be redeployed. We also have an image there of Raila Odinga. ODM will join State House race in 2027. Raila now declares that is similar to what you will find on the front page of the Standard. ODM in Ruto dilemma. Officials of opposition party are split on whether to back President William Ruto or field a candidate in the next election. While Raila Odinga has said the party will field candidates, some feel it would be a better gamble to back the current government and wait another 5 years. As you heard me read earlier, we have a quote there attributed to John Badi, Treasury Cabinet Secretary. Ruto and the entire Rift Valley supported us in 2007, and it is only fair for us to support him as a community in the next general election. Jane, Mheshimiwa Kagiri, yes. Your thoughts on this particular headline, ODM to back or not to back William Ruto in 2027?
I thought the headline is MPs bid to block job cuts in civil service.
That's the Nation Standard.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Certainly. First, Olive, let me start by saying we are experiencing the 16 days of GBV activism. So first, let me start by stating that as women leaders, as every Kenyan, we must stand up against GBV. That said, let me now comment on the headline today, ODM in Ruto dilemma. And I must state, we are all in politics. And any political leader has ambitions. So even for Raila Odinga to say he'll be back on the ballot in 2027, I think is his right, because he's been a leader who has always had ambitions.
Has he said that he will be back on the ballot? My understanding is, according to this report by The Nation, is that he says ODM will join State House race in 2027.
Whichever the way he's allowed, and it's his democratic right, whether he wants to go in for it as president or he wants to go in as a supporter of His Excellency William Ruto. But also let's remember, he's also a candidate for the AU chairmanship, and our prayer and our hope is that he gets to win the seat, because a win for his Honorable Raila Odinga is also a win for Kenya. So my prayer and hope is that he actually wins the seat.
All right. Yeah. So looking at it on page 6 of the Daily Nation, he's quoted as saying, even though I am set to clinch the Africa Union Commission chairmanship, my interest in Kenya's leadership cannot be wished away. I am set for the big task of winning the AUC chairmanship to streamline the politics of African nations, but Kenya remains in my heart. In Kenya, ODM commands its dominance in Nyanza, Western Coast and Northeastern. UDA is big in Rift Valley and parts of Central. The remaining regions are swinging, and we have to wrap them under the ODM dominance. I am nurturing young leaders to take over the leadership of the party. That is why I nominated Mr. Osotsi and Simbarati to hold the office of the deputy party leader. With the youthful leadership in place, ODM will continue to prosper. Your thoughts, Wakili?
Well, Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga will be on the ballot in 2027. I think that's not an issue of conjecture, and rightfully so, because he's entitled to be on the ballot. I don't think securing the AU chair at that level is a bar to him expressing ambition to be president in 2027.
I thought that's why he handed over the instruments of power, so to speak, within the ODM party to pursue the AU chairmanship bid.
Yeah, temporarily. So that the party is able to function as he pursues his campaign, in order that he's not distracted by domestic politics as he gets involved in the continental assignment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Fred? You're an insider. What do you know that we don't know?
Thank you, Olive. First of all, allow me to say that none of us on this table has the capacity to speak on behalf of ODM, not even Harvey. And, I think the reason why political parties are formed is to capture power. And when political parties are formed, they go for the seat from the lowest to the highest, the president. So as a party, and I'm speaking as somebody who has been a Secretary General of a political party before, every party's interest is to capture power. So whatever the Orange Democratic Movement is doing by recruiting, collaborating, is about capturing power. But I don't think the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has said that he'll be running for president. He has not said. His party has the right to do whatever they want to do to capture power. In my view, I believe that every political party must strengthen themselves. All the political parties, whether in opposition or government, must strengthen themselves democratically in preparation for the 2027. That's what progressive parties are doing now. And I want to urge those who believe in democratic principles and subscribe to the basic requirements of political parties to do the same. Because we want to change the country, but you cannot change the country without the tools of change. One of the tools of change is the political parties. And therefore, I encourage political parties to rethink of how to approach the 2027. I've seen a lot of people trying to project their candidature. I have seen Kiom Tata. I saw my good friend Harvey also asking if people would allow him. And I wish him the best. I wish him the best. But I would encourage Harvey also to tell us what is his political party, so that we start gauging him on the basis of his party, ideology of his party. You know?
Wakili, you're interested in the seat?
Of course, I will be running for President of the Republic of Kenya in 2027. It is now quite evident that there ought to be an alternative to Dr. William Samoei Ruto. And you can see my cousins, Baba's other sons, are quite determined to ensure that he's saddled at the continental level instead of coming here. And if Baba doesn't want to do it, some of us will do it.
Mheshimiwa Kagere, what the arrangement we currently have, because the contention here, if you look at the front page of the Standard, is that they are not. There really isn't consensus on whether to back William Ruto in 2027 or field their own candidate. What is the current setup we have? It's been described as a broad-based government. William Ruto described the arrangement that Uhuru Kenyatta entered into with Raila Odinga previously as a mongrel. How would you define the current arrangement?
I would define the current arrangement as when you put the country first and put your interests second. Because we found ourselves in a situation as a country where we required to all come together and find a solution of the current problems we were having then. And I believe for ODM to have come into the government, and just like Joho stated recently, I think it was the day before yesterday, where he said that we've all been shouting and claiming what the government isn't doing right. But there comes a time where you also seek to be inside that government and do what is that you've been saying needs to be done by the government. So I believe for us to have the broad-based government at the moment, it was for us to come and salvage a country that was in a situation where we required everybody's ideas on board for the country to progress. Because Oliver, as I keep saying, if the country burns, it's not going to burn at Jane Kagire's house only. It's going to burn at every person's house in this country. So for ODM to have come in, Azimio to have come in and partnered with us, or rather let me say ODM because it's not Azimio that came in, I believe it was for us to salvage the country and for us to progress the country together.
All right, Mheshimiwa Beatrice Elachi is joining us now, but take us I'll have you in short order. But Fred, as things stand, it seems like ODM mguu moja ndani, mguu moja nje.
I think we must remember where we came from as a country. And I repeat, I am not in any position to speak for ODM. But I can tell you that this country requires unity. And unity that is for the majority of Kenyans in terms of how they progress and how they secure their lives. I am not privy to any arrangement between ODM and the government, but I'm aware that Raila Amolo Odinga as a statesman, because I've worked with Raila Amolo Odinga before, and he's my leader, he saw it fit that he donates some of his people that President William Ruto had identified to help him stabilize this country in terms of performance of the government. And that's how they were appointed. But I've not seen any arrangement that has been published before that this is the cooperation between Party A and Party B. And therefore, anyone who speaks about that must produce it and put it on the table and say, this is the signed document that shows that the two parties are collaborating on 1, 2, 3. Number two, I am also aware that politics is about interest, because I'm a politician myself. When politics is about interest, whose interest? Individual interest and the people's interest. And the politicians, when they see that, they will always work towards it. Raila Amolo Odinga has been a leader in this country for the longest. He understands the terrain of the politics. He understands what his supporters and the people of Kenya that he has led before want. What the people want today, the people of Kenya want services, they want jobs, they want security, they want healthcare that is functioning, they want education system that is functioning. And that does not mean that only Kenya Kwanza can do that. They acknowledged that they have seen the challenges. The president himself acknowledged that he has failed in 1 or 2 reasons. And therefore, he needed somebody to help him. Raila Amolo Odinga came in through and is helping them. We want to ask them, even as they're being helped, to ensure that all these things that the people are asking in this BBG succeed and works. And we want to ask him, or the leadership of Kenya Kwanza, that as we progress as a country, let us have a leadership that is listening to the people. Because the president said that he has learned to listen. Raila Amolo Odinga, when you listen to him yesterday, he spoke of unity of this country.
Okay.
When you listen to Professor Kindiki, the DP, spoke of unity of this country. So we believe that every leader, and even Harvey and my good sister here, should be speaking of the same, because that's where we are.
Speaking of your good sister, let's have her weigh in at this point. The Great North Member of Parliament, Beatrice Elachi, I believe you have a copy of the Standard in front of you. Your thoughts on that headline, and in terms of ODM finds itself in a dilemma whether to back Ruto in 2027 or field their own candidate. What do you make of that?
Thank you very much. First of all,
I think let's try again. It should be fine.
Thank you very much. For me, one of the things that we need to be asking ourselves is not whether 2027 we will field a candidate or not. Because number one, ODM is a party. And when you're a party that is focused to take government. And so, as much as people will say so many things, let us just always remember, it is a party and not just a party that people will recognize in this country that for the years since 2005, ODM has stood. We did our grassroots elections. We finalized. We are now headed to do the wards. And so it means it's a party that believes, first of all, in its structures, and it believes in the Political Parties Act that you must have a party that has structures, that has people, and that is what ODM is. Now let us come to the dilemma. The dilemma. First of all, you see, Baba comes in as a statesman. We know very well what the rules and regulations of AU are. The moment you become the chair, you cannot resign. You have to go your full term. So I don't think Baba is not aware of that. He is, and he respects that. And it is his wish to go and serve Africa. And so whether we have many others who would want to vie, they will vie. Of late, in the many years that we've had since the time we had many parties coming into this country and multipartyism, we know very well you do coalitions. But ODM must also stand firm so that whoever wants to do a coalition with ODM will know this is a party that is serious, and it's a party when you're joining in, it is like in America. We know where the reds are, we know where the blues are, and we know where the oranges are, and we know where the others are, and we know where the swing is. And so we shall do a coalition, knowing very well where we are headed. But for now, I think I need to thank His Excellency, Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, for just making the country move on.
All right.
Because if he was a person who really needed power, he had that time to take over and do many things after 25th of June.
All right.
But if he stood firm and said, unity is important for the country, then let us respect just that. And so let us first ask ourselves, after this unity that came in on 25th of June, is it important for us to see the economy of the country now settle and grow? Because I think that is what everyone is looking for. Even him himself, he would want to see a country where people are able to now start saying, yes, it's not about the macro, but it's about those who are down are able to now start coming. And I think that is what we are praying, all of us, for God's grace, that in 2025, we want to see a calm country and a country that starts now picking up after the 2 years that we have seen so much drama, which I don't think any Kenyan would wish to remember.
All right, before I ask Javas to weigh in, Wakili, you're smiling. And, you know, looking back or, you know, replaying in my mind what you had said earlier about Raila Odinga being on the ballot, what do you make of, he attended Gladys Wanga's Thanksgiving event this weekend. He was at Osotzi's, I believe, Thanksgiving event. And yet he handed over, essentially, the leadership of the party to these, he's called them young leaders. That's debatable.
They are young.
But
I mean, Wanga is very young.
But his remarks on Rigathi Gachagua yesterday, him saying he will keep a finger on the pulse. Are you convinced that he has stepped back from local politics, or ODM, as it were, and is now focused on his AU bid? Or are you convinced that he will be on the ballot in 2027?
Yeah, first and foremost, my friends in ODM are full of deceit, and it's unnecessary. A starting point is this. We have a coalition government between Dr. William Samoei Ruto and Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Why are you denying it? A coalition need not be a formal coalition evidenced by a deed signed by the parties. And it is up in time without number. We're not running away from it. There is nothing wrong with it. As they have said later, it is for good stability and sustainable growth of the economy, which is a good thing. Understand? Coming back to the other secondary issue, there is nothing wrong in Raila Amolo Odinga maintaining a hold of the party. It is his party. Clear, black and white. And let's not dwell in the realm of conjecture. My projection is he will be on the ballot. And there's also nothing wrong to be on the ballot. This false construct that you cannot resign from the AU chair is unsustainable. And the decision is this. If he finds comfort in the AU chair, which we'll all be happy with, so be it. If he wants to lead Kenya, so be it. And let us not dwell in this confusion or satisfaction that is illusory. These people will not be together in perpetuity. They'll have to part a few days before the election and go their own ways.
All right, Javas, you laugh. What are you finding so amusing? Or what have you found so amusing?
Well, the worthy theorization around this table this morning is something that is quite magnetic in nature. And the panel today is constituted of all my relatives, and it makes me happy for some breakfast discussion. You see, I will tell you this, that in the temple of politics, political parties the columns or the pillars, and political leaders, of course, constitute the roof of it. And with regard to the happenings in the country today and what even my very great friend, President Harvey, is talking about, issues, of course, of worthy discourse. And as a matter of fact, what we know is that while there may not be in existence any formal pact in form of a coalition between President William Ruto and Honorable Raila Odinga, because of the events of politics that manifested themselves, much of it, especially early to mid this year, it necessitated a working agreement, a working partnership. That working partnership made Honorable Raila Odinga pronounce himself as being charitable to donate some of his worthy members, he called them professionals, to government so that they can work and say and see how Kenya can move forward through development, through policy implementation, etc. Without slippery of tongue and wavery of thought, that working arrangement then can be construed as a coalition that is not inked on paper. Mm-hmm. And so there is a working partnership between the two.
So you agree with Harvey?
My thoughts are not at variance with President Harvey. And I'm sure even...
In simple English, yeah. When you say not at variance. Anyway, so lawyer, wakili, I guess they understand each other. But Mheshimiwa Kagere, if we look at the weekly review, which was published, I think, in the Daily Nation yesterday. They talk about the 2027 battle lines. With slightly less than 3 years to the next elections, fresh battle lines are being drawn as both old and new political faces escalate their intentions, seeking new partners and alliances in early game plans, mostly targeting the youth, who are projected to form the largest voting bloc. And some of the faces they have here on their headline, aside from, President William Ruto, we have Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, Okiya Omtata, Fred Matiang'i, and Harvey has told us he has every intention to contest in 2027 for the presidency. What do you think are the chances, their chances, given the Gen Z protests we witnessed earlier this year and evident discontent with the way things are?
Olive, as a leader who has contested for an election, first I always say the more the merrier. So everybody is welcome on board. It's their democratic right to contest. But as we are continuing on with this show, Olive, I'm beginning to get a bit concerned because I believe any Kenyan watching us doesn't want to be listening about 2027 politics. Why don't we talk about the current issues affecting our Kenyans? Because my belief is that politics is still a game of distribution and allocation of resources. Kenyans out there, as much as we politic and we say we are leaders, would want to hear about health, about their housing, about their education for their children. Those are the things I would want to be commenting on.
What we are discussing today is the state of politics.
And politics is about resource distribution. That's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear about Harvey. They don't want to hear about Jane Kagiri. They want to know
January I think the people want to hear about Harvey. That's very important.
No, I'm saying, of course, they want to hear about you. They want to hear about me, but they want to hear more about what we will do for them. Not whether we will be on the ballot or we will not be on the ballot.
That feeds into my question.
Yes.
People, as evidenced by those Gen Z protests, are unhappy with the status quo.
Yes.
And they're looking for fresh leadership.
Yes.
And they're looking for new voices. And now you have the likes of Harvey who've joined in the race. You have the likes of Okiya Omtata who've joined the race. New faces, they're looking for fresh blood.
I would beg to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
They are not looking for fresh leadership. They are looking for their issues being addressed and being executed in the manner that they want them to be done. So you give them good health care, they will say His Excellency President Ruto is a good candidate for 2027. So right now when we say they are looking for change, they are not looking for change, they're actually looking for their issues being addressed and being addressed in the right way. And that is why I'm saying we need to now move to Harvey telling us what's his agenda for 2027. We can't keep just exchanging names on this table.
Harvey is not very excited.
It's very true. That's what Kenyans want to hear. Yes, they want to hear Jane Kagiri seated here. Tell us what Kenya Kwanza is planning to do on our issues. Yeah.
You see, Olive, I don't know why Jen fears talking about politics and she's a politician. I'm sure she would want to be re-elected.
There is no fear, none at all.
I find that she fears talking about politics. When you decide to be a politician, speak about politics. And let me tell you, I don't agree with Harvey and my good relative here, Javas, that there's an agreement or there's a coalition between Raila Odinga's party and Ruto's party.
What is it?
Both Javas and Harvey know that for a coalition agreement to exist, there must be a cooperation between two political parties or more, and they're governed by an agreement that is written and deposited with the registrar of political parties. That is what the Act says. Harvey knows that.
Olive, just a minute.
Just hold on, Harvey.
There is a point beyond which one must stop denying a pregnancy. When it's visible.
I am not denying the pregnancy.
All right, let me do this. Let's take a break. Do they continue? We take a break. Okay, go ahead.
You see, Harvey is saying I'm denying a pregnancy. Well, you can deny a pregnancy if you're not the owner of the pregnancy. But listen, what I'm trying to say is, it is true there is a way of cooperation. And that's why we have seen experts from Baba's party going into Kenya Kwanza to support the growth of this economy, to support the development, and to help them stabilize, as Honorable Elijah said. However, none of us has seen a written document in the name of coalition, as stipulated in the Act, that this is an agreement of a coalition that we are working together. But I agree with him when he says there's some form of arrangement. Number two, I also want to tell you, Olive, that we must be very careful as a country when we face some of these times. We are at a time when the people of Kenya would want to see certain things happen. When Azimio demonstrated the other year, there are certain things that we put on the table that we were asking the government to do. When the young people, the Gen Z, went to the street, there are certain things they put on the table and they want that implemented. We must be very careful. We don't ignore what the young people are saying. We don't ignore what the general public, particularly from the Azimio supporters, what we were saying. What we have been saying, we want this country to grow. But by growing the country, you must put money in the pockets of the people. Right. The people are asking us that how do we ensure that we move forward in a way that everyone is sustainable? Right. That is what we are asking.
So I want us to take
finally
but
he
when we come back,
me. That's what we
let me just let's take a break, Javas, and then we'll come back with your thoughts on that, as well as the back and forth between the Kenya Kwanza administration and the Catholic Church over monies donated. And you want to talk about affordable housing and SHA. Rigathi Gachagua had a lot to say about that yesterday on the other side of this break.